the scorching morning of Uinta, Utah, Stephanie Reynolds, Sushi, had decided it was her last day, documenting the drought's toll after 6 grueling days. The cracked earth stretched out under a relentless sun, the air thick with dust that stung her eyes and throat. She had come here to record what was left. Dried riverbeds, shriveled sagebrush, the silence where birds used to call. 6 days of evidence for the lawsuit against the water diversion project that had turned this land into a furnace. 6 days that felt like 6 years, because every dry gulch reminded her of what she could never fix. 18 months earlier, her 5-year-old son Ethan had been killed in a car accident caused by his father's poor judgment behind the wheel. Stephanie had arrived at the scene 4 minutes too late. 4 minutes that replayed in her head every night. The flashing lights, the crumpled metal, the small hand she never got to hold one last time. Her marriage ended soon after. Michael could not face her without seeing those 4 minutes. She could not face herself. So she took every field assignment her wildlife recovery organization offered, burying herself in data and destruction because facing the empty house in Denver was unbearable. This morning, she walked the perimeter of the driest wash one final time. Boots crunching on parched gravel. Camera slung over her shoulder. Her flight back east left in 36 hours. She had packed her gear, written her reports, interviewed the ranchers who had lost their wells. Now she would return to silence and try to exist in a world where little boys died while their mothers were stuck on the highway. Then she heard it. A faint, labored rasp beneath the wind, rattling the dead juniper branches, the kind of breathing that comes right before it stops forever. Stephanie froze. The sound came from a shallow depression in the dry wash, hidden by overhanging scrub. She moved closer, a heart suddenly hammering with something she had not felt in 18 months. Urgency, sharp and immediate. She dropped to her knees at the edge, peered down, and saw the small shape, a wolf pup, no more than 4 months old, coat matted with dust and dehydration, ribs stark under thin fur. Its side rose and fell in shallow, irregular pools. Blue, gray eyes, pale and glassy, flicked open for a second, then closed again. She did not think. Thinking had made her 4 minutes late once. She reached in. Before we dive deeper into this story of survival and second chances, tell me in the comments right now, what time is it where you are? And which city are you watching from? I want to know how far these tales of impossible bonds and quiet miracles have traveled. If you believe animals deserve a fighting chance, that compassion can cross any divide, and that one moment of action can change everything. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support keeps these real stories alive and reminds us why protecting what's left of the wild still matters. Join our community. We're all in this together, with the sun climbing higher in the dry Utah sky. Stephanie leaned over the brush edge, her heart pounding. The depression in the wash was deeper than it looked from above, about 4 feet down into loose, powdery soil that had baked hard on top but crumbled under weight. The wolf pup lay curled at the bottom, body half buried in dust that had shifted around it like a grave. Its breathing came in short, wet rasps, each one pulling less air than the last. She could see the outline of ribs pressing against matted gray fur, the small chest barely moving now. She scanned for a safe way down, no rope in easy reach. Her climbing line was back at the truck, 30 yards away. The sides were steep but not sheer. Loose dirt and roots offered handholds if she moved carefully. She tested the edge with one boot. It held. She sat, swung her legs over, and lowered herself inch by inch, fingers digging into cracked earth, Halfway down, her foot slipped on dry clay. She caught herself against the wall, dust cascading around her, coating her shirt and arms. The pup did not stir at the noise. At the bottom, she knelt in the loose soil. Up close, the pup was smaller than she first thought. Maybe 12 pounds soaking wet. But it was not wet. Dehydrated skin pulled tight over bones. Tongue slightly protruding. Gums pale. The eyes pale blue. Gray. Almost icy. Flickered open again when her shadow fell across it. For a second they locked on hers. Aware, but too weak to react. Then the lids drifted shut. Stephanie reached out slowly. The pup flinched at first touch, but had no strength to pull away. Its fur felt hot and brittle under the dust layer. She slid both hands beneath the small body. Shockingly light. And lifted. The pup hung limp in her arms. Head lolling against her forearm. She pressed it to her chest, feeling the faint heartbeat through layers of shirt and fur. Still there, barely, climbing out one. Handed was impossible. She tucked the pup inside her button. Up shirt, using the fabric to secure it against her skin. The coldness of its body seeped through immediately. A stark contrast to the heat pressing down from above. She zipped her jacket over it for extra hold, then grabbed exposed roots and hauled herself up. Her boots scraped for purchase. Arms burning from the effort. Dirt rained into her eyes and mouth. She ignored it. At the top, she rolled onto flat ground, breathing hard. The small weight still pressed to her sternum. She ran to the truck. The pup's breathing had slowed even more during the climb. 6 breaths in 30 seconds. Dangerously low, she spread a clean tarp across the truck bed, laid the pup down gently, and opened her field kit. First priority, fluids. She mixed electrolyte solution from packets in her supplies, loaded it into a large syringe without needle. Holding the head steady, she dripped tiny amounts onto the tongue. The pup swallowed reflexively once. Twice. She kept going, drop by drop, watching the throat move. Next, the dust. It had caked into every crease. Around eyes, in ears, between toes. Water alone would not cut through it. She grabbed the heavy, duty dish soap from her camping gear, the kind made for grease, and worked a small amount into damp gauze. Section by section she cleaned, starting with the face. Saline. Soaked pads wiped crust from eyelids. The eyes opened again briefly. Clearer now. Tracking her hand, she spoke low. Steady words she had not used in years. Easy now. You're out. I've got you. The coat beneath the dust began to show. Typical gray wolf shading, with darker guard hairs along the back. Male. She noted from anatomy as she worked down the body. 4 months old. Judging by teeth when she gently opened the mouth to clear airways. No broken bones she could feel. But the dehydration was severe. Skin tented when pinched. Eyes sunken. She wrapped him in her spare towel, still holding him close for body heat. His temperature felt too low despite the sun. Shock and exposure combining to pull him down. She sat on the tailgate for the next hour, monitoring. Breathing stabilized to 10 per 30 seconds. Not normal, but no longer crashing. Heart rate strengthened under her fingers at the femoral artery. Body temperature rose slowly from hypothermic levels to merely low. She dripped more fluids every 15 minutes. Tiny amounts to avoid overwhelming the system. The pup lay limp but alive. Small chest rising against her palm. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. The supervisor checking in. She pulled it out with one hand. Typed a quick email without letting go of the pup. Flight canceled. Extension needed. Emergency. Wildlife intervention. Details to follow. No call. No explanation beyond that. She could not leave now. Not when the breathing still faltered every few minutes. By mid Afternoon, the heat had become oppressive. Even in the truck's shadow, she moved to the cab, air conditioning on low. Pup cradled in her lap, she continued the fluids. Cleaned the last of the dust from paws and ears. The small body gradually absorbed warmth from hers. Ears twitched at sounds outside. Wind. Distant raven call, a sign of returning awareness. Night fell. The desert cooled rapidly. She brought him inside her sleeping bag. Against her skin for warmth through the dropping temperature. His body temperature rose slowly under her monitoring. She stayed awake, checking every 30 minutes, breathing steady, heart stronger, no fever yet. No sign of infection from the dust or dehydration stress. She whispered once into the dark, "Not this time, not 4 minutes late again." The words hung in the air, rough from disuse. The pup's ear flicked toward her voice, a tiny response, "Enough." By dawn, the next morning, the pup had survived the night. Stephanie knew the statistics for orphaned wolf pups separated before 5 months. Survival rates below 20% in the wild, without human aid. She also knew the risks of hand rearing, imprinting, loss of wild skills, dependency. But right now, survival trumped protocol. She canceled the rest of her return plans with another email. Extension, approved pending report. She did not notify authorities yet. She focused on the next feed, the next check, the next breath. The small wolf in her arms breathed steadily against her. For the first time in a long time, Stephanie felt the weight of something depending on her completely. And she did not flinch from it. For the next 6 hours, under the truck's shade, Stephanie worked methodically on the small wolf pup. She kept the electrolyte syringe in constant rotation, delivering measured drops every 10 minutes to avoid overwhelming his system. The pup swallowed more consistently now, small tongue flicking against the tip with growing coordination. Each successful swallow brought a slight color back to his gums. Still pale, but no longer ghostly. She alternated with the milk replacer bottle, warming fresh batches over the portable stove and testing temperature on her wrist before offering it. He took about 2 ounces per feed, eyes half open during the process, tracking her movements in slow blinks. She monitored vital signs continuously. Respiratory rate climbed from 8 breaths per 30 seconds to 14, then 18. Heartbeat at the femoral artery steadied under her fingertips. Stronger pulses, fewer skips. Body temperature rose gradually from hypothermic levels to normal wolf range around 101 degrees. She used a digital thermometer from her kit, inserting gently and recording every half hour. No fever spike, no labored wheezing, just steady improvement. To maintain warmth, she kept him pressed against her bare skin inside the open shirt. Towel draped loosely for insulation. His fur, once caked and dull, now showed clean patches where she had wiped thoroughly. The gray base coat emerged with subtle black tipping along the spine. Ears dark, rimmed, those pale blue. Gray eyes appeared more alert each time they opened, pupils contracting in the filtered light, focusing briefly on her face before drifting closed again in exhaustion. She set up a schedule around the feeds. Every 3 hours, she prepared a new bottle, mixed precisely to avoid digestive upset. Too concentrated caused diarrhea risk. Too dilute left him malnourished. She weighed him on her portable scale. 11.8 pounds after the first full feed, up from the estimated 10 when she pulled him out. Small gains, but measurable. During quieter intervals, she examined him head to tail, paws intact. No cracks or swelling from the dry ground. Ears clean inside after saline flush. No mite or infection. Teeth small but sharp. Milk set complete for his age. Abdomen soft. No distension. She palpated ribs. still prominent but less stark. Dehydration had pulled fluid from tissues. Rehydration was reversing it slowly. As the afternoon wore on, she talked to him in a low, even tone, not constant chatter, just facts and observations to fill the silence of the empty wash. Your coat's coming back. See that gray like storm clouds. Strong color. Or breathe deeper. That's it. Fill those lungs. The words were, for her, as much as him. She had not spoken much to anyone in months. The sound of her own voice felt foreign, but necessary. One feed cycle she held the bottle steady while recounting the day Ethan turned 4. He wanted a red truck for his birthday. Not a toy one. A real one to drive someday. I promised we'd look at them when he was big enough. She paused, adjusted the nipple angle as he lapped. He never got big enough. The pup's ears swiveled toward her voice. He did not understand the words, but the vibration carried. His tail gave a single weak twitch against her thigh. By late afternoon, she noticed changes in his posture. He no longer lay completely flat. He shifted to curl tighter against her side. Nose tucked under her arm. When she moved to adjust the towel, he made a small sound. Not a whine. Not a growl. But a soft rumble from deep in his chest. It reminded her of the low purr domestic cats made when content. Wolves did not purr exactly, but this came close. A vibration she felt through her ribs. She kept the routine going into evening. Feeds at 6, 9, midnight. Each time he took more volume. Lapped faster. By the midnight bottle, he finished 3 ounces without dribbling. Eyes stayed open longer afterward, watching her face as she wiped his muzzle. She stroked along his back. Light pressure. Avoiding pressure points. His body relaxed under the touch. Muscles that had been rigid from pain now softened. Night passed with fewer interruptions. His temperature held stable. Breathing remained even. When she offered the early morning bottle, he latched strongly. Tail giving small side. 2 side movements. Eyes clear now. Pale blue. Gray catching the first light through tent mesh. He finished the bottle and looked up at her directly. Longer than before. Recognition. Not fear. Not dependence alone. Something mutual. She whispered once as he drifted back to sleep. You're fighting hard. Little one, keep going. His ear flicked. The rumble started again. Soft. Steady. Like an engine idling low. The day stretched ahead with the same rhythm. Feeds. Checks. Quiet talks. Small improvements. Compounding. Weight up to 12.9 pounds by noon. Respiratory rate, 26 per 30 seconds. Approaching normal for a resting pup. No signs of secondary infection. Just steady recovery. She began introducing small pieces of softened meat from her emergency rations. Reconstituted jerky soaked in water. He gummed it tentatively. Then swallowed. First, solid food. Progress. As the sun set on the 3rd day in camp, she sat with him outside the tent. Watching the sky turn orange over the parched ridges, he lay across her lap, head on her forearm. Eyes half closed. The rumble came again. Longer. More sustained. She rested her hand on his back and felt the vibration travel up her arm. In that moment, the silence of the desert felt less empty. On the 4th morning, inside her tent, amid the cooling night air, Stephanie heard faint scratching. The sound came from the blanket nest in the corner. Small claws scraping fabric. Followed by a soft thump, she sat up quickly, unzipped the sleeping bag, and turned on the low lantern. The pup was on his feet, legs splayed wide for balance, knees trembling, but upright, his tail stuck straight out. Quivering with effort, he took one unsteady step forward, front paws sliding slightly on the nylon floor, then sat down hard. Ears went back in what looked like mild offense at his own body for failing. Stephanie moved to his side without sudden motion. "You've been through a lot." She ran her palm along his spine. Vertebrae still prominent under fur but less sharp than before. He looked up at her with those pale blue, gray eyes. Head tilted slightly. A small, frustrated sound escaped his throat. Not distress, just annoyance. She positioned herself on the ground cross-legged, hands open in front of him. "Come on then, try again." He pushed up once more. This time he managed 3 wobbly steps before collapsing forward into her waiting palms. She caught him gently, supporting his chest so he did not hit the ground. He rested there for a moment, breathing hard, then tried again. Each attempt lasted longer. 4 steps, then 5. When he fell, she caught him every time. When he succeeded, she let him stand, unsupported for a few seconds before guiding him back down to rest. The session lasted 40 minutes. By the end, he could cross the tent floor, about 8 feet. Before his hind legs gave out, she celebrated by preparing his morning bottle with an extra ½ ounce of formula. He drank it all. Tail, giving small side sweeps against her knee. After the feed, he climbed directly onto her lap without prompting. Front paws kneaded her thigh briefly. Claws sheathed. Then he curled into a tight ball with his nose tucked under his tail. She sat motionless, hand resting lightly on his ribs, feeling each breath expand and contract. The low rumble started again, vibrating through her legs and into her chest. She let the moment stretch. The morning she carried him outside for fresh air. The sun was still low, heat tolerable. She set him on a flat rock near the tent entrance. He stood immediately, legs steadier now, and explored the immediate area, sniffing at dried grass tufts, pawing at a small pebble. When he ventured too far, she scooped him back gently. He accepted the correction without protest. Returning to press against her boot, she talked to him in the same low tone. "You're getting stronger every hour. Look at you moving." He responded with an ear flick and another rumble. Around noon, her phone rang. The screen showed Michael's name. She stared at it for 3 rings. The pup lifted his head, ears pricked at the unfamiliar sound. She let it go to voicemail. The notification appeared. A missed call. No message left this time. She felt the familiar tightness in her sternum, the same one that hit every time his name appeared. Memories surfaced uninvited. The hospital corridor. The officer's quiet explanation. The 4 minutes she replayed like a broken record. She pushed them down. Not now. The pup needed her attention. She turned the phone face down and focused on the small wolf at her feet. He tried standing again on his own. This time he walked a full circle around her boots before sitting. Progress. She rewarded him with a short play session, dragging a knotted cord across the ground. He pounced weakly at first, missed, then caught it on the 3rd try. His tail wagged once. Short, uncertain. She laughed softly. The sound surprised her. It had been months since anything like that came out. The afternoon passed in the same pattern. Feed at 3, short walk around camp, rest against her side while she reviewed field notes on her laptop. He dozed with his head on her forearm. Rumble, occasional and low. When he woke, he looked up at her directly. Eyes clearer, pupils sharp in the diffused light. No fear, no wariness, just calm expectation. Evening feed came at 6. He finished 4 ounces, licking the bottle, nipple clean. Afterward, he climbed her chest, paws on her shoulders, and pressed his forehead against her chin. The rumble deepened. Longer, more resonant. She wrapped her arms around him carefully. "You're safe here, for as long as you need." The words felt heavy but right. Night routine followed. Bottle at 9. She carried him back inside the tent, set him in the nest. But he immediately moved to her sleeping bag and waited. She let him in again. Skin to fur, warmth shared. His breathing evened out quickly. She lay awake longer, hand on his side, listening to the steady rhythm. The next morning, 5th day, he stood without prompting when she opened the tent flap. Legs still shaky but holding, he walked out ahead of her, tail level. Sniffing the air, she followed, watching him explore a wider radius. 10 feet, then 15. When he tired, he returned to her, leaning against her leg. She knelt, checked pause for wear. No cracks yet. Phone rang again mid. Morning, Michael. This time she answered on the 4th ring. Steph. His voice cautious. Surprised. You picked up. She kept one hand on the pup's back. He looked up at the new sound. Ears forward. I'm here. Silence stretched. Michael spoke first. I was worried. Your supervisor said you extended. Everything okay? She glanced down at the pup. He rumbled softly, pressing closer. I'm handling something. A wolf pup. Found him dehydrated, keeping him stable. Another pause. You sound different. She did not respond immediately. The pup nudged her palm with his nose. She scratched behind his ear. I have to go. He's waking up. She ended the call before he could say more. The pup tried running. Short burst. 3 bounds across open ground before stumbling. She caught him mid. Fall. Set him down gently. He shook himself. Tried again. Success. Tail wagged twice. Clearer motion. She felt the tightness in her chest ease slightly. Not gone, but lighter. Afternoon brought another feed and play. He stalked her bootlaces with intense focus. Pouncing when they moved. Clumsy, but determined. Each miss ended with him tumbling into her hands. Each success brought the rumble. Reward signal. She began introducing small pieces of meat again. Soaked and torn, he ate eagerly, chewing with growing strength. Evening she sat outside with him on her lap. Stars emerged early in the clear desert sky. He watched them too. Head tilted, ears swiveling at distant coyote calls. When a meteor streaked, he tracked it. Body tensing, she spoke quietly. Ethan loved the sky. We'd lie on the grass and count satellites. He said they were spaceships watching us. The pup's ear rotated toward her. Rumble started. Soft. Steady. She rested her chin on his head. I think he'd like you. The decision crystallized that night. She would keep him longer. Not forever. Protocol still existed. But long enough to see him through the critical phase. Long enough to feel necessary again. The pup slept against her chest. Rumble, fading into even breaths. She closed her eyes. Hand on his fur. And for the first time in 18 months, slept without the 4-minute loop playing in her head. By the end of the 2nd week in the vast Utah wilderness, Max's strength had returned noticeably. Stephanie had started calling him Max on the 9th day. Short for maximum resilience, she told herself. After he first managed a full sprint across the camp clearing without stumbling, the name stuck. He responded to it now with a quick head turn whenever she said it softly during feeds or play. His coat had transformed completely. The dull gray from dehydration had given way to a thick, glossy sheen. Guard hairs dark along the ridge of his back. Undercoat, lighter silver around the neck and flanks. Eyes still that striking pale blue. Gray, but brighter. Pupils sharp and alert. He weighed 14.2 pounds on the morning scale. Check. Nearly 3 pounds gained since rescue. Ribs no longer visible when he stretched. Muscles beginning to fill out along shoulders and haunches. Morning routine shifted. Instead of bottle feeds every 3 hours, he now took larger volumes at dawn and dusk. 6 ounces of formula mixed with minced meat. He lapped from a shallow dish on the ground, tail wagging steadily. After eating, he bounded off in short bursts. 10 yards. Then 15. Chasing dry leaves that skittered across the dirt in the breeze. His pounces were clumsy at first, front paws overshooting. But coordination improved with each attempt. One leaf he caught mid-air, shook vigorously, then dropped it to stalk another, instinct kicking in. Stephanie watched from her camp chair. Notebook open on her lap, she documented everything. Distance run, pounce accuracy, tail carriage during play. Max returned after each chase, dropping beside her with tongue lolling, then rolled onto his back for belly rubs. She obliged, fingers working through thick fur, while he rumbled contentedly. The sound had deepened into something closer to a wolf's slow growl of satisfaction, vibrating against her palm. Afternoons, she let him explore farther, under supervision. He climbed low boulders, balancing on narrow ledges with surprising grace for his age. When he slipped, she was there to steady him. He learned quickly. Next attempt, more careful foot placement. She introduced enrichment, a hollow log for crawling through, branches dragged across ground for chasing. He attacked them with focused intensity, ears pinned forward, body low in mock stalk. Play sessions lasted 30 minutes before he tired and returned to curl against her side. During quieter moments, she pulled out her laptop and dove into research. She opened files on gray wolf pup development, PDFs from wildlife biology journals downloaded before the trip. Key statistics jumped out. Pups separated from mothers before 5 months had survival rates under 20% in the wild without human aid. Orphaned at 4 months like Max, the odds dropped further. Exposure, predation, starvation, hand. Reared pups often imprinted too strongly on humans, losing wild behaviors needed for pack life. She referenced with case studies. Successful wild releases, rare, usually requiring minimal contact and early return to family groups. She read about wolf family dynamics. Mothers searched extensively for lost pups. Weeks, sometimes months, using scent trails and vocalizations. If the mother was alive and in the area, reunion remained possible. Females were fiercely protective. Rejection after human scent was not guaranteed, but a risk. Stephanie noted trail camera data from similar cases. Adult females circling old den sites long after pups vanished. The more she read, the clearer the path became. A rehab center 4 hours south had facilities, experienced staff, enclosures for socialization, but Max would grow up there, fed by humans, confined, released only if lucky. He would never know full wild freedom. The thought settled heavy. She closed the laptop, looked at him sleeping against her leg, chest rising evenly. He needed space to run full speed, obstacles to climb, prey to practice hunting. Most of all, he needed his kind. Lessons only another wolf could teach. Decision formed over the next 2 days. She would not transfer him. She would search for his pack instead. Evidence suggested the mother had not abandoned him voluntarily. Wolves did not leave healthy pups behind without cause. Drought had likely scattered the group. She might still be ranging nearby. Searching, Stephanie mapped the area on her GPS. 2-mile radius around the dry wash where she found him. She checked for signs daily. Tracks, scat, scratch marks on juniper bark. Fresh prints appeared sporadically, larger than Max's. Adult, female pattern. Pads, distinct. She prepared systematically. She deployed her motion. Activated trail cameras. 4 units placed at water sources and game trails 1/2 mile east and north. Batteries fresh. Memory cards cleared. She tested each one. Reviewed sample images. Mule deer, Coyote. Jackrabbit. No wolves yet. She expanded the grid. Cameras at den. Like overhangs. Scent posts. She collected her own scent items. Used shirt. Sock. Left near cameras to draw curiosity without direct contact. Max accompanied her on short setups. He rode on her shoulders. Claws pricking lightly through fabric. Weight now substantial enough to tire her arms after 20 minutes. He sniffed the air constantly. Ears swiveling. Body tense. When distant howls echoed at dusk, she talked to him during these walks. If she's out there, she'll find you, or we'll find her, he rumbled in response. Low. Steady. One evening, she sat with him on a ridge overlooking the wash. Sun dipped low, casting long shadows across cracked earth. Max stood beside her. Nose lifted. Testing wind. A distant wolf call rolled across the valley. Single note. Then silence. His ears shot forward. Body went rigid. He answered instinctively. A high, wavering pup howl. Short but clear. The sound carried. No reply came. He tried again. Still nothing. He pressed against her leg. Rumbling softer now. Almost uncertain. She placed her hand on his back. She's looking. I know she is. The words were for both of them. Max leaned into her touch. Eyes fixed on the darkening horizon. Next morning she checked the cameras. One image, time-stamped 2A. She carried 4 units in her pack. In motion. Activated. Infrared. Weather. Sealed models designed for remote wildlife monitoring. Max rode on her shoulders. Claws gripping lightly through her shirt. Weight balanced as she hiked the first mile north along a faint game trail. His ears swiveled constantly. Nose working the air. Body alert, but relaxed against her neck. She placed the first camera at a narrow saddle between 2 ridges. Prime travel corridor, where dust held prints well. She secured it to a sturdy juniper trunk at knee height. Angled slightly downward to capture approaching animals full. A-frame. She tested the trigger by walking past. Red LED blinked once, confirming activation. Max watched from her shoulder, head tilted, then rumbled low when the camera clicked faintly. The second unit went half a mile east, near a shallow depression that held faint moisture after rare night dew. She cleared overhanging branches for clear line of sight. Checked battery level. Full. And inserted a fresh memory card. Max sniffed the ground around the base. Tail low. Circling once before, pressing back against her leg. She scratched his ear briefly. This one's for her. If she's moving at night, she'll pass here. Third camera, at a rocky outcrop, overlooking the dry wash where she had found him. She wedged it between boulders. Camouflaged with loose soil and dead grass, Max stayed close, pawing at the dirt while she worked. When finished, she knelt to his level, held his gaze. We're giving her a chance to find you. He met her eyes steadily. Pale blue, gray, reflecting the rising light. Then nudged her palm with his nose. The fourth and final one she positioned on a scent post. Old juniper marked with faint claw scratches and urine scent. Adult female sign. Recent enough to suggest regular use. She mounted the camera high enough to avoid curious pups or coyotes knocking it down. Max sat beside her, watching every movement. When she stepped back to check framing, he walked forward, sniffed the lens, then looked up at her as if confirming approval. She smiled faintly. The first real one in days. Back at camp by mid-morning, she downloaded preliminary images from the units already running overnight. Nothing definitive yet. Mostly jackrabbits. A single coyote slinking past at 3A. Mule deer browsing sparse forage. But the adult female from earlier frames appeared again on the eastern camera. Timestamp 2:40. 7A. She walked directly toward the lens. Paused 6 feet away. Stared for 7 seconds. Ears forward. Eyes locked. Body tense but not aggressive. Searching. Stephanie studied the sequence frame by frame. Tail low but not tucked. Posture. Alert. No limp or injury visible. Healthy. Persistent. She marked the coordinates. Noted wind direction from the metadata. Southwest. Carrying scents downslope. If the mother was using these trails, she would intersect Max's scent, eventually. Stephanie left the shirt she had worn during rescue draped near the eastern camera. Human scent mixed with Max's lingering odor. Risky, but deliberate. Wolves relied on smell above all else. Afternoons she hiked with Max to check footprints manually. She found fresh tracks twice. Larger front pads. Rear, smaller. Stride consistent with a female covering ground efficiently. One set led toward a shallow canyon 2 miles northwest. Another circled back toward the original wash. Max followed beside her on leash for safety. Short cord attached to his makeshift harness. He pulled gently when he caught interesting scents. Nose to ground. Tail stiff. When he found a print matching the mother's, he froze. Sniffed deeply. Then looked up at Stephanie with ears pricked. She knelt. Traced the pad outline with her finger. She's been here. Not long ago. Evenings brought the hardest part. She sat with Max outside the tent as light faded. Him curled against her thigh. Rumble steady, but quieter than before. She spoke low. Words measured. Ethan used to draw maps. Little trails on paper with X marks for treasure. He'd say, "Mom, follow this one. It's to the moon. I kept every one." Max lifted his head. Eyes on her face. She continued. He never got to finish the last one. Halfway done when? Anyway, I think he'd want you to have your own path back home. The pup's rumble faltered once. Short break. Then resumed softer. He pressed his forehead to her knee. Eyes half closed. One night she lay awake with Max asleep beside her. Hand on his flank, breathing even. Heartbeat strong, under fur. She whispered into the dark. "If we find her, I'll step back. You'll run to her, and I'll walk away knowing I did right." The words tasted bitter but true. Max shifted in sleep. Nose tucked under her arm. Rumble faint, but present. Like reassurance. Next dawn, she checked cameras again. 3 new images of the adult female. Closer each time. One at 4:12 She stood over the shirt. Sniffed intently. Then lifted her head and howled. Short. A rising note that echoed across the valley. On the audio clip, Max woke at the sound through the laptop speaker. Ears forward. Body rigid. He answered. Higher pup howl. Wavering but clear. Stephanie played it back once. His tail wagged slowly. Eyes bright. She added 2 more cameras. Deeper into the canyon. Near overhangs that could serve as temporary dens. Max came along. Riding shoulders part way. Then walking beside her, on leash. He sniffed every placement spot. Circled each camera base. Rumbled approval. She talked to him while securing mounts. "This is for you, not me." He pressed against her leg when she knelt. Solid contact. Grounding. By evening, the grid was complete. 6 units, covering 2 square miles of likely range. She reviewed daily downloads. Mother wolf appearing 4 times in 48 hours. Patterns emerging. Night travel. Circling inward toward the wash. Scent trails converging. Stephanie felt the shift inside her. Anticipation mixed with dread. The search was working. Reunion possible. Loss inevitable. She spent the last hour of daylight sitting with Max on the ridge. He stood beside her, nose into wind. Ears pricked. A distant howl rolled up from the canyon. Single. Sustained, Max answered. Stronger now. Less wavering. The response came back. Closer. Clearer. Mother calling. Stephanie rested her hand on his back. She's waiting. Max leaned into her touch. Rumble deep and steady. She knew the next days would decide everything. The search kicked off the next morning along a cracked game trail 2 miles northwest. Stephanie started early, while air stayed cool. Max riding her shoulders with claws pricked through fabric for grip. His body felt tense from the start. Muscles rigid. Ears pinned forward. Nose working constantly. She moved steadily, following faint prints, visible in loose soil, adult pads overlapping pup. Sized ones from earlier days. Max's weight shifted with each step, signaling alertness when scents intensified. Day 1 yielded fresh tracks near a shallow overhang. Mother wolf had bedded there recently. Scat still moist. Stephanie photographed measurements. Front pad 3.5 inches wide. Stride 28 inches. Max sniffed the ground intently. Body low. Tail stiff. When he caught the strongest scent, he rumbled deep. Almost a growl. Then looked up at her with eyes wide. She knelt. Traced the print. She's been here. Not long ago. They covered 4 miles that day. Circling back to camp by dusk, Max rode most of the way. Claws digging in when wind carried distant calls. No direct sighting. No response howl. Stephanie reviewed camera footage at night. Mother appeared twice. Once, at 119A, near the canyon camera, pausing to sniff air. Then vanishing upslope, pattern tightening inward. Day 2, she extended the loop north. Following a dry creek bed lined with bent sage, tracks grew fresher. Overlapping prints less than 12 hours old. Max grew restless on her shoulders. Shifting weight. Rumbling intermittently, she paused at a rocky point. Set him down on leash. He pulled toward a narrow cleft. Nose to ground. She followed. Inside the cleft, fresh bedding. Flattened grass. Scattered fur tufts. Mother had rested here overnight. Max circled the spot, sniffing deeply, then lifted his head and let out a short, sharp pup call. The sound echoed off stone walls. Silence followed. He tried again. Higher. More insistent. No answer. He pressed against her leg. Trembling slightly, Stephanie rested her hand on his back. She's close enough to hear. Keep going. They hiked until dark, covering another 5 miles. Max walked partway on his own, leash loose, staying within arm's reach. At camp, he ate quickly, then curled tight against her side in the sleeping bag. His rumble came sporadic, lower, almost anxious. She stayed awake, monitoring his breathing, hand on his flank. Day 3 brought the first vocal response. Mid-afternoon along a ridge trail, Max went rigid on her shoulders. He rumbled low, ears forward. Seconds later, a howl rolled up from below. Single, rising note. Sustained for 8 seconds. Max answered immediately. Clear pup howl. Strong and steady, the adult responded again. Closer. 2 notes this time. Stephanie froze. Heart rate spiking. She marked the location on GPS. 1.8 miles southwest. They pushed forward carefully. Max, trembling with excitement. Claws pricking deeper. No visual yet. Tracks converged on the canyon floor. Multiple crossings. Scent posts marked repeatedly. Stephanie slowed pace. Let Max lead on leash. He pulled steadily. Nose low. Tail level. At dusk, they reached a small clearing ringed by boulders. Fresh scat. Recent bedding. Max sat, ears pricked, waiting. Another howl. Very close now. From across the clearing, Max responded. Long, wavering call. The adult answered directly. Deep, resonant, ending in short barks. Stephanie retreated slowly to the clearing edge. Kneeling behind cover, Max stayed beside her. Body vibrating. Darkness fell. Howls continued. Back and forth. Closer each exchange. Max's calls grew bolder. Stephanie felt the pull in her chest. Joy mixed with ache. Day 4. No new tracks overnight. But cameras captured the mother, circling camp perimeter at 3A. Staring toward tent direction for 12 seconds before moving off. Stephanie hiked the same ridge. Max on shoulders. Midday he tensed again. Howl from below. Sharp. Urgent. Max answered. Response immediate. 3 quick barks. Then silence. She scanned the slope. Nothing visible. They waited. Max rumbled steadily. Eyes fixed downhill. Day 5, tension built. Tracks crisscrossed everywhere. Mother ranging wide but returning to same areas. Max walked more on his own. Leash slack. Pulling toward scents. Late afternoon, a howl erupted close. Less than half mile. Max responded. Loud. Clear. Adult answered. Series of short yips. Excited, Stephanie crouched behind Juniper. Max strained forward. She unclipped leash slowly. He looked back at her once. Eyes locked. Then bounded ahead. Day 6. Everything aligned. Morning hike. Along cracked trail. Northwest. Max rode shoulders. Tense. From first step. Noon brought a howl. Direct. Close. Max answered. Response instant. Barks rolling toward them. Stephanie stopped at clearing edge. Max slid down. Stood rigid. A shape emerged from tall grass opposite. Adult, female wolf. Lean and powerful. Golden. Gray coat thick. Eyes pale like Max's but sharper. More knowing. She froze, 20 feet away. Ears forward. Tail low, but not tucked. Max took 1 step forward, then another. The mother watched. Body coiled. He broke into a run. Awkward at first. Then fluid. Crossing the distance in seconds, he threw himself at her. Tumbling into grass, she caught him. Rolling together in a tangle of fur and limbs, she sniffed frantically. Face. Neck. Flanks. Licking vigorously. Checking every inch. Max climbed her back. Rubbed his muzzle against hers. Paws kneading her shoulders. High. Pitched yips of joy escaped him. Continuous. Relieved, she rumbled deep. Enveloping. Tail sweeping wide arcs. Stephanie stood motionless at clearing edge. Tears blurred vision, but she did not wipe them. The reunion played out in silence, except for vocalizations. Mother's low growls of reassurance. Max's excited chirps. They rolled again. Then separated briefly. Mother circled him once. Sniffing. Then pressed her side against his, in solid contact. The mother looked up suddenly. Eyes locking on Stephanie across 20 feet. Body tensed. Ears forward. Stephanie did not move. No threat posture from the wolf. Just assessment. Max sat between them. Looking from one to the other. The mother took 1 step forward. Then another. Slow. Too deliberate. She stopped 6 feet from Stephanie. Sat with tail wrapped around paws. Stared directly. Eyes intense but calm. Recognition. Stephanie extended her hand, palm down. Slow. Non-threatening. The mother leaned forward. Stretched neck. Touched nose to palm. Contact lasted 4 seconds. Warm, damp, deliberate exhale across fingers. Acknowledgement, gratitude. Then she pulled back. Looked once more. Long, steady, turned. Picked Max up gently by scruff. He dangled, relaxed. Trusting, she carried him toward grass edge. At clearing boundary, she paused. Looked back 5 seconds. Max dangled peacefully. Eyes on Stephanie. The mother touched his head with one paw. Stay signal. Then disappeared into brush. Stephanie stood alone in the clearing. Sun high. Air still. She walked back to camp slowly. Pack heavier, somehow. At tent, she sat on tailgate. Phone in hand. She scrolled to Michael's name. This time she pressed call without hesitation. He answered on second ring. Steph voice cautious. Hopeful. You okay? She drew breath. I found his mother. Just now. Max ran to her. She touched my hand. Like thanks. Silence stretched. Michael spoke quietly. Tell me everything. She did. From first tracks to final howl. Reunion in clearing. Nose touch. Letting go. Voice cracked once, but held. When finished, Michael said, You did what was right. For him, and for you. She nodded, though he could not see. I think so. It hurts, but it's clean. Hurt. He paused. Come home when you're ready. We'll talk. Really talk. She whispered. Soon. Night fell quiet. No howls close. Stephanie lay in sleeping bag alone. Hand on empty space beside her. Sleep came slowly but deep. SNO4. Minute loop. Just memory of blue. Gray eyes meeting hers one last time. 3 months later during a follow. Up assessment in the cooling Utah fall. Stephanie reviewed her camera footage. Leaves on the sparse junipers had turned gold and brittle. Wind carried a sharper edge. She had returned for the environmental update. Drought monitoring. Water diversion impacts. Same protocols as before, but the real reason sat on her laptop screen. 7. Motion. Triggered clips from the old grid she never fully dismantled. First file opened at dawn. Light filtering through tent mesh. Timestamp, October 15th. 6:40. 2A. A large adult female wolf walked frame right to left. Confident stride. Coat thick against coming winter. Muscles defined under fur. Behind her, a young wolf followed. 7 months old now. Nearly as tall as the mother but slimmer. Movements fluid and sure. Gray coat glossy. Pale blue. Gray eyes catching infrared glow. He paused directly in front of the lens. Turned head. Stared for 3 full seconds. Recognition or simple curiosity. Then he continued. Matching the mother's pace into pine shadow. Stephanie replayed it 4 times. Each viewing sharpened details. The way he carried tail level like the adult. Shoulders rolling with growing power. No hesitation in gait. Healthy. Exactly where he belonged. Second clip. 2 days later. Night infrared. Mother and young crossed a ridge trail. He bounded ahead briefly. Short chase. After unseen prey. Then returned to her side. Shoulder to shoulder. No limp. No thinness. Weight gain evident in filled flanks. Stephanie noted coordinates. 3 miles northwest of original wash. Territory expanding naturally. Third file showed them at a small seep. Rare water source, still holding after summer. Mother drank first. Young waited respectfully. Then lowered head beside her. They touched muzzles briefly. Quick. Affirming contact. Stephanie paused frame on that moment. Eyes closed in contentment. Pack bond intact. She closed the laptop. Sat on tailgate under fading afternoon light. Camp quieter now. No small weight on shoulders. No rumble against chest. But the ache had changed shape. Less sharp. More like memory carried, instead of wound, reopened daily. Back in Denver 2 weeks earlier, she had unpacked slowly. Empty house felt different. Not hollow. Just quiet. She called Michael the night she landed. He answered immediately. "You're home." Voice steady. "No Cassian," she said. "I am. Can we meet?" They met at the park Ethan used to play in. Same bench. Same path. No pressure. Just sitting, talking. First about the wolf. Every detail, from reunion to final footage. Then about Ethan. 4 minutes. The accident, the blame they both carried. Michael spoke first. "I drove impaired. That was on me. But the 4 minutes. You weren't late. Traffic happened. You couldn't control it." She looked at him. "I punished us both for it." He nodded. "We did, but we don't have to keep doing it." They talked until dark. No promises. Just agreement. Weekly calls. Then coffee. Then dinner. Slow rebuild. Honest. Clean. Now in Utah. Again she walked the old wash one last time. Boots crunched on frost. Kissed. Gravel. No pup tracks. No fresh scat. Only adult prints. Steady. Purposeful. She stopped at the depression where she first found him. Soil still cracked but softer after fall rains. She knelt. Touched the spot. "You made it. Max, you're exactly what you were supposed to be." Phone buzzed. "Michael," she answered. Footage came in. "He's thriving." He laughed softly. "Send them over. I want to see." She did. Later that evening he called back. "He's beautiful. Strong. You gave him that," she said. "He gave me something back, too." Silence comfortable. Michael spoke quietly. "I'm glad you're home." "We're getting there," she replied. "Me too. We're getting there." Night fell clear and cold. Stephanie sat outside tent. Stars sharp overhead. She thought about Ethan. His laugh. His rock collections. Unfinished maps. Pain came as always, but softer. Layered with gratitude for 5 years instead of rage for what was lost. She whispered to the dark, "I couldn't save you, baby, but I saved him, and he saved me right back." Some miracles are not impossible things happening. They are about arriving exactly when needed. Acting when it matters. And letting go when it's time. About realizing salvation runs both ways. One life pulled from edge teaches another how to live again. Compassion crosses species. Heals wounds deeper than flesh. Reminds us, loss does not erase capacity to love or be loved. Stephanie packed camp next morning. Cameras retrieved. Data backed up. Report filed. She drove south toward Denver. Highway open. Sky wide. Phone on passenger seat showed last clip looping silently. Young wolf, pausing at lens. Eyes meeting camera. Then turning to follow mother into forest. Alive. She smiled once. Small. Real. Then focused on road.